What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I also host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers that is co-sponsored by Dad Central and also Dove Men Care. Dad Central is Canada's national fatherhood organization. And as part of that collaboration, with those two organizations, I was part of a team that reached out to over 100,000 fathers around the world last year. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Sunday afternoon, February 6th, broadcasting live online. And Sunday afternoons, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we do Black Canada Talking, which is a wonderful conversation that we have, and it's a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories and issues that are of importance to them. And for some people, this may be a new friend, but for me, it's a longtime friend. We have Richard Miller from Keep6ix organization based here in Toronto. Let me give you a little bit of background on Keep6ix. It's a not-for-profit Toronto-based organization serving the Greater Toronto Area. It was founded in 2017 to make a meaningful difference in the lives of at-risk youth from racialized communities who have been impacted by the criminal justice system. The organization offers various programs and services to help youth avoid going down a disempowering path towards incarceration. They also support and advocate for those who are currently incarcerated and provide post-release support so that they can overcome barriers and begin to pasitively rebuild their lives within their community. So we are going to be, Rich, we're going to bring on the stage right now. We may also be joined by Rachel Chen. She may or may not be with us, but Richard is here. So Richard, welcome. How are you? And welcome back.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure. And as always, thank you very much for having me here today.
Always. When I have you here, I feel like I have you and your whole community with us. So it's not just you alone. So always a pleasure to have you on the platform. And how's your day been going so far?
Well, it's, been a pretty busy one, but I've got to make time for Dr. Vibe.
Oh, well, oh my gosh, I'm so humble. Well, I make time for you and your organization. And Richard, I'm going to say something really important here. Richard is a gentleman that will call me periodically and check in with me. He's got a lot on his plate. He serves himself, I'm sure his family, and a lot of people. But he's one of those people that checks in, and we always have really deep, meaningful, and interesting conversations. And some of the stuff we're going to be chatting about today was part of it's going to be part of our today's conversation. But Richard, I want to say thank you for everything you, your team have done, are doing, and will be doing. And I just want you to just expand a little bit more on Keep6ix for our audience, because there may be the first time that anyone's heard about them, whether it's in Canada or around the world.
So Keep6ix is a nonprofit organization based out of Toronto. And I founded Keep6ix back in 2017. And the whole purpose that Keep6ix came to light was the fact about injustice within the criminal justice system, but also to educate individuals, young people, about making healthy choices and be able to navigate through the system if that time comes for the family. I found myself personally, through my own personal challenges, that families did not know how to navigate through the system. And there was a lot of overrepresentation, a lot of suppression that still goes on up to this day. And that was where I started out. And with that said, I was able to get a great deal of support from members in the community, where I was able to develop a few programs, and Gangster Tuition, our entrepreneurship program, or a mentorship program. And we had launched the Gangster Tuition program last year, along with the city of Brampton and the region of Peel Police came on board and launched that program. The program.
No, before we get there, I want to still go back a little bit of the past.
Right.
What made you start this program? I know some of it was personal experience, but also I'm sure others' experiences. What made you start Keep6ix?
Well, what made me start Keep6ix was my own personal experience, right? I myself had my encounters with the justice system. And while I was going through it, I found there was a lot of information that was missing, or I shouldn't say that. I should say that the public was misled. And I found that our government itself doesn't take accountability for their actions or their wrongdoings. So I wanted Keep6ix to be able to be that voice for individuals that's inside or individual that doesn't have a voice in the community.
Thank you for some of that background. And also, could you share some of the early days, like the 2017 days? Because I know that where you were then is not where you are now, but it's part of the story. What were the early days like? Was there acceptance in the early days?
Well, there was some pushbacks, I will say that, and actually, believe it or not, the pushback actually came from a government standpoint, especially our federal government. I myself was still within twined in their system, so they kind of pushed back on it. And again, when you're doing something, and I guess what's the word? Maybe I could use the word threat of maybe exposing things, then you kind of become kind of a target. Mm-hmm. And that's it. But otherwise, I would say there was a great deal. I was able to get support from community members and people from a political point of the provincial government. So, and a few private business, Black business owner, kind of really got me on my feet and was able to support me. I had a lady, as a matter of fact, who she worked for Young Street Mission, and she was actually one of the individuals, Marcia Sheldon, and she supported me and kind of gave me a leg to stand on, or footing within the community. Right? They gave me space at YSM. I had my first panel discussion there, and they continue to support me in that manner. Right?
Nice. Going back to those early days, can you remember an early win that you had? Because I know you were working hard. These days you're working smart. I know you're still working hard, but you're working smarter these days. But back in the early days, was there a moment that you said, you know what, I'm on the right path? This is something that it's going to happen. Was there, you mentioned the panel discussion. Was it the panel discussion? Was it another event that early in the journey that you said, yes, had that yes moment?
I feel in my early days when I really felt attraction, or I felt it was something very important, I had a panel discussion. And after the panel discussion, I was able to, I noticed I started getting a lot of phone calls from other organizations that I didn't know of, right? And those organizations asking me to put on this panel discussion, which I had called the Empowerment to Unlock the Justice System, at their facility. So over that period of time, the traction kind of grew. And then on top of it, I was able to get support from members in their community or other organizations. So I reached out to the union, because I worked in the construction industry. And those are one of the individuals stepped up to be able to give support back to our community when it came to empowering youth and employment and so forth.
Nice. Very nice. For those who actually want a deeper dive into the organization, we had a conversation with Richard and Rachel back in April. So we're just going high level because we're going to chatting about some other things today. So we're gonna transition to this. That how has the pandemic, well, how's the last year been, especially with the people that you serve in the organization? Because when we spoke last April, the pandemic was still going on. It's still somewhat going on now. It's still going on. Let's just say it's still going on. But how are things at ground level for the clients that you serve these days?
At this particular time, the clients, we are still giving service for our programs. I will say that we don't have that interaction, that personal interaction that we usually do. A lot of things are online with our clients. Basically, the Gangster Tuition program is pretty much, that's still going on. The pandemic itself has, one thing I've noticed is the amount of individual reaching out for help. And when I say help, I mean help in a mental capacity, but also food. You know, that's been a very, very big one. Usually, we usually help with food baskets. So we were able to collaborate with CAFCAN and African Food Basket and being able to give out food for about the last year and so. And after that ended, this Christmas, for instance, a perfect example, I had so many families reaching out for help, and I couldn't do it. I
Wow.
was limited. I only had
Wow.
a certain, and on top of it, the support that I've received even a year prior to that,
Right.
that support wasn't there this year, like financially and so forth.
Wow. Wow. So things that you had are now gone.
Yes. Yeah.
But and also the needs have increased.
Yes, definitely.
Oh.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Even this past Christmas, the year before, if you recall, we had a big Christmas concert to help families impacted by gun violence.
Yep.
And I mean, that's something that I put on and paid for. And fortunately, this year I couldn't do it. So then my next thing was, what could we do to help the families, right? So we were able to get the food hampers, with our individuals that we collaborate with and give that. But there was such a great need, there wasn't enough to fulfill the capacity of people that needed help. And then the mental health part of it is a very big one right now.
How much should those who are watching this live or on replay or listening to this on replay be concerned about the situation that you just shared with me?
I think a lot of people really don't get the demographic of it when it comes to the situation that we're in or how serious it is. Because the other thing you have to remember, if you're not in that situation, you don't have any concept of it, right? It's very difficult when it hits you straight in the face. So I think what we have to come together as a community and work together to help, people in our community that is not as fortunate as we are, right? That's the important thing I find. I have a great deal of concern when it comes to even a day-to-day living for some people and the mental health. Like, we're getting phone calls where a 25-year-old is just don't know where to turn. And it's short of being out of work, the pandemic, being locked down, the depression is kicking in, anxiety is kicking in, everything else. And even myself, like, I mean, not just our community, myself, just try to function day to day, within my business, and just try to do the work, the phone calls alone, like, I'm the first one to admit, even last week, there was a very disturbing phone calls I received from our organization regarding people who are needs help. Right.
Wow. It's interesting that 2 years down the road, things are in some ways maybe more challenging than what they were before.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and I'm glad you're voicing that now, because maybe many of us don't realize it because we're not in it, that it sounds like it's, from your lens, a deeper concern than there was even before 2 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. There's no question about it. I think what we have to do now is try to get our minds right and be able to support each other. I mean, just like you're talking about earlier, how I just call in and check on you, just to see how you do sometimes. It's the same thing. A lot of people see us and just see us doing the work and doing what has to be done, or what they feel that, has to be done, right? But they don't understand the time and the challenges that we're facing ourselves, right?
Wow. Let's talk a little about the Gangs for Tuition program. I know you wanted to chat about it today, so let's move into transition. We may come back to some of the things we chatted about earlier, but I know you wanted to talk about the Gangs for Tuition program, so please share with our audience.
So Gangs for Tuition is a program that we developed. It took us about 2 years to get it off the ground, and off the ground is mean actually doing a launch. And the program itself was, years ago, I came across a lot of young people who had their sheer crossing of the justice system. And I was speaking to some young men, and I asked a particular question when I was speaking with them. I says, well, if there's one thing in your life that could change you from going down this deplorable path, what would that be? And out of the 13 or 14 individual, they all came back with the same reply: money. Financially, I would not be here talking to you now if I had the opportunity, or if what you're showing me, if I was able to knew about that prior. So with that said, I started working, and we having the big issue within the community or the city with the gun violence. So one of my main concern was that, and employment, because poverty kind of linked with employment, and violence. So with that said, I sat down with, believe it or not, it was actually one of my own personal legal team and some other lawyers, and another lawyer who was part of a board. And I shared what I wanted to do, and we kind of, everybody put their head together and worked at it. And I developed Gangster Tuition. And Gangster Tuition allows individual into the program, and they get the ability to learn some everyday skills to navigate through life. But on top of it, they get the opportunity to learn a trade. Trade is a very, very, very big sector in our community. And there's great money in the trades. And, when I say great money, I mean, you can start off in the trades, and your first year, you're making $60,000. So I reached out to the union, and which is one of our largest union, Local 183, and to get some support. And I was able to get support, and they offered us that we could pick 10 sectors that we would like young people in our community to be trained on or get knowledge on. So that's what we did. So we ended up getting support from them, and we're able to get individual through the trade after they go through the program. But the good thing about the program also is that if there's somebody that was in a criminal lifestyle that maybe have a firearm, because that was another big issue in our community, that individual had the opportunity of surrendering that firearm to one of the lawyers in Keep6ix who has her firearm license. So she was able to take that firearm from that individual and surrender it without any repercussion. The good thing about it is that you have to remember always that if we are able to get one firearm off the street, that could have been 50 lives or 100 lives we save.
Absolutely.
Because everybody knows that one firearm circulates within a community, right? So we continue to work on that. And over a period of time, we were able to do an official launch last year. We were able to get great support from the city of Brampton, and we ended up launching it. We continued to do the program. We ended up having Elevate partnered with us also, that offer employment and training to young people within the community.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I'd like our producer to actually put up the website information for the Gangs for Tuition program. Now, what's the process? how does someone get involved in that program? And my second question would be, is it online?
Yes. So at this present time, because of the climate we're in, the program is taking place online, the core host. Now, if someone would like to get into the program, only thing they have to do is go to the Keep6ix website. Once they go on there, there's a click the menu button and there's a intake form. Fill out the intake form, and someone will get back to them and then able to go through the process, the interview, and they're able to get into the program. And once they get finished that core host, then they're able to move forward into whatever they like. If it's a trade or the tech industry with Elevate, they're able to move forward in that.
Because it's not face to face, and because it's online, do you take intake from people outside of the Greater Toronto area?
Yes, so we
Good.
do. We do. So at the present time, we get referrals from like probation. Rachel gets quite a few from probation and so forth. We get referrals from other organizations or just people maybe watching the show and heard about it and have somebody in their lives that they want to who could benefit from the program itself.
And for those who think we're just having this conversation because Richard's a good guy and Keep6ix is a great organization, Rachel and Richard are great. The R&R combination. I also support the program because there is a gentleman who they introduced me to a lady who runs her own accounting organization, and that gentleman has been wonderfully employed for, man, is it a year? At least a year now.
Yes, a year now. Yes,
that's and correct. He is a superstar because I keep in touch with that lady every week, and she has nothing but great things to say about the organization. So if I am a supporter of the organization because they help people's and families' lives. So I want to say thank you, Richard, for taking the chance, for having me introduce you to an employer that has changed the life of a young man.
Yeah. And these are the things that we have to stop and look at the community, right? A lot of these individuals just need a chance or need someone to believe in them, right? And a lot of times I think that if we just take the time, because not every situation is the easiest one to navigate through. Sometimes some situation needs a little bit more nurturing than others. And that's what it takes, I mean, to uplift, somebody a lot of time, right? You just have to show them that someone cares and they can do it. And, there is a possibility to change and they can change, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm a firm believer that one of the greatest things that each one of us gets in life is opportunity.
Yeah.
So when you think about, and people are watching this live on replay or listening to it on replay, say you're down and out, you're looking for an opportunity to be better.
That's right.
So I just want to lay that out there. Opportunity, very, very important. Let's transition. I don't like using this, but I guess I have to, Black History Month, because I believe Black History is 365 every day of the year, 24 hours a day. But you wanted to share with us not a pleasant story that has occurred during Black History Month. So yeah. I'd like you to share that with our audience.
So I had the opportunity last week. I received a very disturbing phone call. And it wasn't just one phone call we received. We received, I think it was 3. And the calls came from offenders, individuals who were housed at the Toronto East Detention Center. It was here in our greater GTA area. And the call was about the abuse, how their human rights been violated, how they're been treated like animals. And it got to the point, and the reason why it's very touching for me personally is because of the fact that if you had the opportunity to hear this individual, or even one young man. And he says, I'm a very strong person, but what they're doing to me, I'm feeling weak. But I have to stay strong because I have to fight for my rights and I have to stand up. And it was just really, really heartbreaking for me because I'm hearing this thing about Black History Month. And I get this call, or these individuals are calling and hearing these stories, and the stories even of abuse of correctional officers, assaulting them, covering it up, keeping them from their family, locked in a cell for 24 hours to 23 and a half hours, not showering for 7 days, no clean clothes, and then I turn around and I'm like, I'm shaking my head. Here we are talking about Black history. And the funny thing about it, it's not as if these are white offenders. These are all Black offenders calling. This is taking place. And I had the opportunity to just look to try to be a voice for them. And so I reached out to our deputy minister office, spoke to one of them, and still waiting for a comeback. But again, I noticed that there's a consistent pattern with these individuals. And everybody wants to paint a picture that, we're doing great work and we're doing a great job and, we're going to look into it. But nothing's changing. Because the same problem that we're having today that called into us to help and advocate for them is the same problem was happening 30 years ago. And it's very, very, very disturbing. Very disturbing. And I know a lot of people or a community don't get the demographic of what's going on because everybody maybe likes to watch television and see, well, hey, but we are a tax-paying body. And it's our money that is running these places. And until it's your son or your daughter or your cousin or uncle, a lot of people do not get the demographic of the abuse that goes on within the system itself.
Wow. Well, first of all, we're speaking that this situation is going to have a positive resolve that you just shared with us, but it's only a microcosm of a bigger challenge.
Yeah.
My one of my conversation pieces coming from what you just shared from me is, have the conditions at all, and maybe you've already answered that, but I just want to hear it from you again. Have the conditions at all improved for our Black inmates from your lens?
No. What has happened when it comes to it is they repackage things and call it something different. It's to say, I will go back and say to you this then. What is going on is the same pattern that's been going on for 500 years. It has not changed. The only difference is we're in 2022 and they might call it and repackage. It's the same thing that goes on. Now, you have a body of individuals that's in the system that are fighting and trying to make changes. But those individuals, they are so small that they're getting squashed by the larger individuals who are there for the conspiracy. The wrongdoing.
How has your relationship changed with those in power, if at all, since you started Keep6ix?
Our relationship with those in power, we've been hearing, one of the things that I've been hearing about is money. And that hasn't changed because I've had from ministers at our table to other individuals, and I'll hear all these promises. And for this year, that's one of the things I'll be going on to find out about what happens. I will say that we do have a good portion of body of individuals in power that do support the organization and do support the work that we do. And from their scope of what they're able to do, they do produce or do what they're able to do, right? And I can't take that away from them or discredit them for that. But again, it's only a whatever that they can do, right? Like I remember I called an MPP last week after this whole incident, and he's like, well, this is what I can do, but unless this takes place, well, then I don't have a leg to stand on, right?
So where's the roadblock?
The roadblock is way at the top. I'm sorry to say, it's way at the top.
And have you had any conversations with those at the top?
We have had conversations with some individual at the top, and we've heard these things. It takes time. Well, hey, 500 years later, we're still, I don't know. My stopwatch, that one broken,
It takes time. But do these individuals realize that people's lives are in the balance based on their activity or inactivity?
Well, you have to remember something too. This is a business.
Let's go there.
It's a business. So if you ever take the time, or if anyone ever take the time, and look, say for instance, the federal government. The federal government has all the institutions, all your federal institutions in Kingston. And the closest one we have is in Beaver Creek and Workworth. And then you have the Women's Institution in Kitchener. Every federal institution produce or do some kind of a business for the Army. They make parachutes, they repair vehicles, they make eyeglasses, furniture, and so forth. These are a multi-million-dollar business. So you look at, I think the maximum an offender gets paid is about $36 or $32 every 2 weeks for this work.
How much?
I would say $36.
Every 2
weeks. Right. That's what an offender makes.
What are they supposed to do with that?
Right. So then let's go a little bit further now. So at the $36, say you have to buy a little bit of food or put a little money on your phone card to phone your family, or even shampoo, right? So a bottle of shampoo, I think is probably around $6 or $7.
What store are they getting it from?
They get in the institution.
Well, and I guess because that's a lot more expensive than you and I. Well, I don't have to worry, but
right,
right. But that's a lot more money than what we're paying.
Right. So I just give you an example, right? Because everything's marked up. Right?
That's
you have no choice.
The money making.
Right. You can get up and I can get up and go to Dollarama or No Frills or whatever, right? But we have a choice. They don't. So you have to stop and look. And then my argument is that how is the government making all this money? And if an individuals leave, they have nothing. Right? Your reintegration is one of the biggest thing they speak of all the time, but where is the reintegration at? And then you're back to, that's the reason why individuals are back to what they're known or what they're used to. Whatever kind of hustle is it that they know. So my argument is that I would like for you, tomorrow's Monday, you're welcome to go down to Bay Street and register a corporation. And I'd like for you to start hiring individuals and pay them $32 a week. And I'd like to see how long you can operate for.
Hey, look, let's put it this way. If I told them what their salary was, they wouldn't even, they'd shut me down on my screen.
Right. So these are the things when I say we are no further ahead from 500 years ago. It's the same pattern. It's the same formula. It's just being repackaged.
Wow. Maybe I'm going to have to steal that from you. Instead of saying, are we more ahead from 5 years ago? Are we more ahead from 500 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That's really, really something. Right. We'll come back to that before we end. There is another area that you want to talk about today also. You also want to talk about accountability in regards to the money that governments give to Black organizations and where does it go?
Yes.
Talk about it.
We have a lot of organizations, grassroots, just like Keep6ix. We're all here doing the work. And in my terminology of extermination. I said we're down in the trenches, right? Because there's a difference between some organizations and then you have Keep6ix. We're down in the gutter. We're meeting people every day. We're dealing with their issues and so forth. Now, from my understanding from last year, okay, we even had a few panel discussion regarding the same issue. There was supposed to be a significant amount of funding, particularly coming out to grassroots organizations. The funding has been dispersed sometime last year, this year, so far some of it. The problem is that who is monitoring this fund? Who is holding these individuals that get in this fund accountable and for them to be going to the grassroots and doing the work that they need to do? See, because I think what is happening personally is money is coming in. It is not going where it needs to go to do the work, and there's no accountability. Who is, let's use the word then, who is policing these individuals who's getting the money? That's what I'd like to know. We all know that you get fund and then you have to do a report and how you spend the money, but who is looking over your shoulder to make sure this money is supposed to be doing what it's supposed to be doing? Because from what I'm seeing, it's not happening. It isn't. We're out here. There's a lot of other organizations, and we see our big name organization with how many $1 million they get and stuff and so forth. And they're doing, but then take the time. Go into our neighborhoods or go into our communities where we have all these issues and speak to the youth. Ask the youth, who do you see here? What program is offered to you? Who's offering you this program? And the thing that I say, well, hey, it's this, and here we are again. So we have to come to, there's got to be a point where we are able to say, we have to be able to start holding these organizations accountable for this money that's supposed to be coming down in our community.
Okay. So a few things I want to go deeper on this. First of all, did your organization apply?
Yes.
Okay. And did you get a positive response?
No.
Did you follow up to find out why you did not get a positive response?
No, we didn't. We at the present time, as we speak, I have one organization that we are in talk with, and they are in the midst of putting something together to partner with Keep6ix.
So there was about 30 organizations, I think, approximately, Black Canadian-led organizations that got money from the ecosystem fund. What does it tell you that? Okay, let me go back first. How many, other than the one, have reached out to your organization?
One other one that we had applied for a grant, and we did not hear back from them, and we ended up seeing them, and then we reapplied, and they're signed something to give us. They've been giving us grant writing for 3 months, 90 days, and they're supposed to be giving us social media and marketing for 1 year.
Okay, let me go further on this. What was your ask from them?
I don't recall that. Something that Rachel would have been able to cover, but okay. It was a financial.
So when you heard back they give you resources, not financial, I'm sure you questioned them on that.
Yes,
and what was their response?
That's the program they're running. That's how. So more or less, this is how I figured it out. How it's working is that instead of giving you the money, they give you resources, and then they will say, well, okay, fine, we did this and we did that with this money, But you know what I mean? So they use the resources as if they're giving you actual financial gain. That's how I picture it.
Okay. So instead of them giving you money, they're potentially, and I'm using the word potentially, giving you resources.
Yeah.
What they've potentially promised to you, will that be of any help for your organization?
Well, I'm running a program that costs about $300 and something per person, and a grant writing for 3 months. I think it's 3 grants that was able to apply for. We don't know yet what will take place with those, where they'll go. 2 or 3.
My concern with that is, yes, it's good to get grant writing. Don't say anything against it, but there's no guarantee there.
That's right. Yeah. The marketing and social media, that hasn't taken place. Apparently I think they're rebranding or redoing the program. So that have not gone forward as of yet.
So again, not only is Keep6ix in the dark, but the clients that you are serving and potentially serving are being kept in the dark.
Yeah.
The other part that I find interesting is only 2 organizations have reached out to you.
Yeah.
What is your thought about that?
Well, my thought is everybody has their own intertwine. That's one thing that I know for a fact within the community or the non-profit sector. So whenever that money, they already know where they're allocating that money to and what they're doing. That's my thought on it. Right.
From what you've shared with me, one of my responses is, why aren't these organizations not looking at the least or less fortunate, or those who really need it? Now, we all need it, absolutely. But from what you're sharing with me, why hasn't the individuals that you serve received any attention?
I think when it comes to there's 2 things. One, there's every time there's money, there's a specific area where they're always trying to allocate money to, and then everybody jumps in a bandwagon. Like, I give an example. I recall 2018, we started a trade program. Be honest with you, maybe I was in the dark. I never heard of anybody doing a trade program. There wasn't very much going on, maybe 1 or 2. But in the last year or so, trade is the biggest thing. And the government is pumping out all this money into the trade. Learn the trade, right? And everybody is starting to do this thing, right? Now, I asked myself this question. I says, well, if that's the case, why aren't we really working together and collaborating?
Okay.
Right?
Go ahead.
Then you run into the fact that everybody kind of wanted to do their own thing as a silo, because their individuals feel that, well, they might be doing something, you might be doing something, and you might gain knowledge from them or get more money, right? So the money itself, from my own experience, the money itself that is out there, it's not being managed properly, because it's not coming to do the work that is really needed to do, or get into the hands of the people that's really doing the work to be able to reach the bodies that really needs it.
Who are you upset at?
I'm not really upset at anybody, really.
Or no, let me rephrase that. Who are you disappointed with?
I'm disappointed in a lot within our community. I'll say that much. But I'm also disappointed.
Why? No, let's look at that first. Why?
The reason why that is within our community, we tend to fight against each other. We tend to try to hold each other back instead of working together. And if we were able to come together and work to build, we could actually go together as a group and get this money that we need to do the work as a group and have that money control of it as a group. So my theory is that I would have much rather to work with a group of individuals as a collective and say, hey, this is what we're doing, and this is the fund we need to do this. Right? Even if they say, okay, fine, we'll do this as a pilot for the first 3 years or something, that's fair enough. Then we look at, the outcome of the work itself.
What do you feel is holding that back from happening?
Again, just being able to work together. It is a lot of, I think the best way to describe this would be there's a lot of generational trauma.
Thank you.
Right.
So before Richard goes on, and I've been saying this for the last little while now, when you look at the Black environment, because I don't use the word Black community.
Mm-hmm.
Three things many people in that environment: trauma, repetition, doing the same things over and over again, and we expect different results, which, as one person, as many people say, when you do the same thing over and over again and you expect different results, that's a definition of insanity, leading back to trauma. And then symbolism.
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons I've got this bald head is as I don't understand, and I see it too from where I sit and people I communicate with out there. I just gonna be honest, folks. I see all these organizations doing the same thing. Why aren't you doing it together? And I've seen bits of it, but I'm beginning to see the old tendencies start again. It seems that the pandemic, the talk was out there to collaborate, but I'm hearing from individuals like Richard and other people out there, the silos are strong. The 500-year silos are strong.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put that in there for a little bit, Richard. You were going to say a second part of why this situation exists. Sorry to interrupt you there.
And the other second part would be the government itself. I feel there needs to be more information and more resources about what's going on in the community, and for individuals to have a clear understanding of what organizations are doing and so forth. I think there's a lot of favoritism that goes on. I think there's a lot of, because you applied and you already received money, we'll just give it to you again.
Just reading a message here from Kevin Messam, who was a Black Canadian who now lives in the United States, but is still passionate about Black Canada. It says Black people, unfortunately, being hoodwinked yet again. They just do it in a more clever and underhanded way in Canada. In the US, they have zero chill. It's done in your face with no apology. I'd rather go with the latter because these folks in government, they understand the dynamics. The dynamics of lack of unity, that's just one issue. The rest is social capital and critical mass. This isn't new, unfortunately. Black Plane is the new campaign.
Yeah.
I will share with people, I have had some time in the nonprofit sector, and that's a show in itself. That's all I got to say. That's a show in itself. I think that, what do you want to see as remedies, even small remedies?
One of my main ask would be to the individuals or the organization that these funds are given to. There has to be some kind of accountability, some kind of a supervision to see how the money's been used, where it's going, and is it going to allocate it in the right place. That would be my main and first ask.
I think that's a good ask. I think that can be easily done, but I think it's to be a little bit deeper. I think it can look good on a balance sheet, but what are the true receipts? I think maybe deeper receipts than that and again, I don't know. I'll be open here. I reached out to many of these organizations who I had not reached out to in my life to see if they could be on this platform. I will not tell you unless you communicate me. Well, you can guess how many have got back to me. Let me just put it that way. So I'll just leave it at that. I'll just as I said, these days with situations like this, as one of my mentors, Freddie Coleman, who does ESPN radio in the United States, to use one of his terms, the more I know, the less I understand.
Yeah.
So you want accountability. You want accountability on both ends, the government and with and organizations.
Yes, especially there has to be a body that oversees what is being done with the money. It's like who besides the fact of you doing your evaluations and your report, there has to be something above that that's supervising that funds.
Well, maybe it's an independent, non-governmental organization. Maybe that's what you're saying. Maybe have it a non-governmental organization, or even I know with governments, they have their auditor general.
Yes. Yeah. So as a matter of fact, you know what? I'm very much open. If anybody's watching, I'm very much open to be a part of that body. I'll sign up right now.
Because yeah, maybe. And that's a very good, interesting point, Richard. I don't know if there's ever been a point where even previous programs for the Black environment, maybe that's the time. Maybe the time is, especially with this amount of money, have the auditor general look into that. Don't know. I'm just putting out suggestions. I'm not saying biases. I just suggestions, because at the end of the day, especially for people in Canada, it's your tax money.
Yeah.
What do you want the Black environment to do?
I would like for the Black environment to come together, work as a collective, so we can have some more positive changes. But also the work that needs to be done. I'm the first one to say that. When I started out, I never even dreamed that some of the obstacles or some of the load would be so heavy at times. I mean, just this week alone. I mean, my past week, I was talking to someone. I called someone to get some advice, and this is actually a government body person that I know personally. And I said to him straightforward, I said, I'm tired. I'm tired. I never signed up for this. I signed up to do, a work and to make changes, but I never anticipated that some of these, challenges would be so difficult for us.
So building on that, Richard, do you ever take breaks?
I was never doing that, and it's funny you mentioned, because a good friend of mine from another organization, I've known her for quite some time, she just called me yesterday, and she says, I recall you used to always tell me that I need to take time. But you need to stop and look at yourself, because you're going to be burnt out and no good to anyone. You need, what is she says, you need a me time. Like, no phone, no nothing. Don't worry about what the other person in the community might need. Don't worry about, work, just time to decompress. So I'm going to be working towards that. And I think for me to last a while, there's a lot that's been happening. And I think it's, especially with the pandemic and everything, I've taken it personally and it's kind of all just weighing me down, you know.
I wonder if it's the same person I had on my morning vibe show recently, but we'll talk about that offline. Kevin is saying, welcome being black, brother. Very sorry to hear this, Richard. You have to press the reset button for yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
And so one of the things that has come out of this conversation, I'm going to be checking in on you to make sure, what are you doing to take a break, even if it's 15, 20 minutes a day?
Yeah.
Because if you're not good to yourself, you're not going to be good to yourself, your family, and the people that you serve.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Any other what is Keep6ix looking for help with right these days?
Money.
Okay. All right. Straight up. There you go.
Yeah, straight up money. Right now we've got a wonderful team, wonderful board. We've got some great students doing intern and volunteering. And it just would like to expand the program more. And it's got to the point now where I myself personally, I cannot afford to carry Keep6ix anymore. I can't afford to go to work and invest into the community like I've done for years. So, I mean, it's been difficult, right? Because a lot of people don't realize this, but when Keep6ix first started out, I was actually working full time, 12 hours a day, and I'm invested in the community, right? For many years, right? But then Keep6ix has grown.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, when I was paying for a young man who needed counseling, and it's at $200 a session, once a week.
Wow.
So these are the things. Like a lot of people don't understand the demographic. They just see, well, Keep6ix, and this guy is, and so you say, well, I had someone who made a comment, well, you need to do more to the community and stop just giving the community money. I'm like, okay, sorry.
Someone like that says, come into my world for a day and let's see what you have to say.
Yeah. But I'm very fortunate. I will say that I'm very, very fortunate because some of the support that I've received, it makes a big, big difference. And that's those are the things that can push me to keep on going. Right. When I stop and look, I was having a conversation a while back, and I was saying to someone, I says, when you are coming in from your own personal challenges and you're able to make a change in other people's life, but when you can stand up and you have other individuals standing beside you and committing to what you're doing or the movements, that alone itself says it all. And that's what gives me the drive and keeps me going,
I think we'll end it right there because you do need some break time because you were out today and then you came and do this. So I'm going to, in a few moments, kick you to the curb or kick you to your bed or kick you to the couch.
Got paperwork.
Producer, can you again put up the information for Keep6ix and also the wonderful program that they run? That'd be very much appreciative. Any final words? Okay, you know what? Actually, what message do you have to our Black families?
I want our families to go back to the old days of being able to sit down as a family, communicate, support each other. Even if it's someone you don't know, support that person. Even just to say hello. I find we as a Black community are our worst enemy. Because what I have seen for myself is our own people tearing us down and breaking us down. And I think that's one of the things that I would like to see.
And Coach 77 says, Richard, you're the man. All right. And he also said, box breathing. Richard, box breathing, it works. Well, we'll see if we can get Richard to get him to do some meditation every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Richard, thank you so much, you, Rachel, and the team for what you have done, what you are doing, and what you will be doing. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. Again, producer, if you can just put the information for Richard's organization and the program that they're running right now. Yeah, the Gangster Tuition program is up on our screen. If you're listening to this, it's keep and it's the number 6ix.org. That's the website address. And then if you want to, and that will take you to everything that this organization does. And if you're truly, and I'm underlining truly wanting to help, reach out to them. Richard don't want no players.
No.
And you know what? He can sift out players pretty good these days too. At all different levels. And that's some of our conversations offline that you're not going to hear. So Richard, thank you so much for everything. Be well. Do say hello to Rachel for me. I do want to have a catch-up conversation when she has some time. But two things I want to just say that remember, you and everyone in your team and you serve, remember to give yourselves grace. And I want all of you, don't manage your time, manage your energy.
Yeah, most definitely. And I just want to say thank you again for your support.
Always.
Thank you, for everything you do for the community. And we as a community just need to come together and support each other and continue to pray and hold each other accountable, even if we're friends.
And by the way, I like the beard. See ya.
All right. Thank you.
Looks good. That is Richard Miller of the Keep6ix organization. A really deep and meaningful conversation. And I suggest, even if you watch us live, watch the replay or listen to the replay. Really good stuff. My name is Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of epic conversations. Now, the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I host the only online conversation in the world for fathers and dads. Excuse me, that is co-sponsored by Dove Men Care and Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And just some upcoming things. If you want, please subscribe to my Facebook page, The Dr. Vibe Show, and it's also the same thing on YouTube. Also, my website is thedrvibeshow.com. You can catch me online also Monday and Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Co-host Ryan Knight. We host a great conversation called The Morning Vibe. This week coming up with February 6th, tomorrow we have a gentleman from the One First Circle organization, I believe, out of Montreal, who's doing incredible stuff with his organization. And then this Friday coming up, again, if you're not watching this live on the catching on the replay, on the 11th of February at 9 a.m., some of you may have heard that the CIBC, one of Canada's big banks, has just launched a $15 million program to help Black entrepreneurs. And part of that, I think $2 million of grants is for entrepreneurs also. We have a senior member of CIBC, Austin Walters. They've also now, CIBC has partnered with the Black Opportunity Fund and also the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce. They've come together to help administer and make this program happen. We have Austin Walters from CIBC. We have Craig Wellington, the executive director of the Black Opportunity Fund. And we have Doug Minter, who is a management consultant for the Black Chamber of Commerce. They're all going to be on live this Friday at 9 a.m. to talk about this. So you can catch it on my Dr. Vibe Show Facebook page and YouTube page, also on my Twitch page, and also on my Twitter feed. Let's finish off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And again, remember to not manage your time, but manage your energy. Also, big thanks to BIA Media for the production. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good. We'll see you next week with the Black Canada Talking bi-weekly roundtable. And with a lot of things going on in Canada, especially in Ottawa these days, they will continue to have a lot of things to say about that. Take care, everybody. God bless.